In this video, Paraguay Residency Requirements for 2025, a comprehensive guide. Paraguay has emerged as a compelling destination for individuals seeking an affordable, welcoming, and financially advantageous base in South America. Its low cost of living, territorial tax system, and straightforward residency processes attract expats, digital nomads, and entrepreneurs from all over the world. As of August 2025, Paraguay offers two primary residency pathways, temporary and permanent residency, each with distinct requirements, benefits, and considerations. This guide provides a detailed overview of these pathways, including eligibility, processes, benefits, and practical steps. So starting with temporary residency, this serves as an entry point for most individuals looking to establish a foothold in Paraguay. This pathway allows holders to live, work, and access local services in Paraguay, get banking in Paraguay, get tax residency in Paraguay, etc., providing a practical way to experience the country and integrate, assimilate, and work towards PR and citizenship. The process is designed to be approachable with minimal bureaucratic hurdles compared to other nations. So let's talk eligibility and requirements. To qualify for temporary residency, applicants must be from a country that has visa-free access to Paraguay, because the process takes place on the ground in Paraguay. So the only way to get into Paraguay is to have visa-free to Paraguay. So that means if you're from, India, Pakistan, countries in Africa that do not have visa-free to Paraguay, that's going to present an issue. But for anybody from Canada, the US, Europe, you can look at the list online of countries that have visa-free to Paraguay. That's really who this program is for. So other documents you're going to need are a valid passport. Of course, you'll need an apostilled birth certificate. This must be authenticated in your home country and translated into Spanish by a certified Paraguayan translator. As part of the residency process, usually your residency fixer company will do the translations for you. At least that's what we do. Next, you'll need a clean criminal record check. A police clearance certificate, apostilled and translated, is required from your home country and any country where you have resided in the past 5 years. If those things are different, if you currently reside in a country that's different from where you're born, there's a little bit of a strategy to it, but we highly recommend getting the police background check from your home country. If you have a more complex situation because maybe you were born in a country where it's hard to get a police check, we can figure out a solution there, but these are the things that you need to be thinking of. So that's pretty much it. Passport, apostilled birth certificate, clean criminal record check, and the ability to enter Paraguay visa-free. If you have these basic requirements, you can get residency in Paraguay. This is one of the easiest residencies in the world. There's very few residencies that you can get simply by showing up with the police check and a birth certificate. That's one of the things that's made Paraguay so popular. The process requires a visit to Asunción specifically, so you can't just go anywhere in Paraguay. You have to go to Asunción, the capital, for document submission and biometric registration. So keep that in mind as well. Now let's talk a bit about the benefits of temporary residency. I've made a whole video about the benefits of residency in Paraguay, maybe even multiple, so you can check out some of the other videos on our channel. But temporary residency is going to have most of the benefits of permanent residency, which in turn has most of the benefits of citizenship. So don't be too discouraged or thrown off by the fact that you have to start as a temporary resident. It's all right. You'll be a temporary resident for 2 years, and then it's going to renew to permanent. But even as a temporary resident, you can get the cédula, which is Paraguay's national ID card, which grants access to banking, healthcare, and other services. You can get a driver's license in Paraguay, which is huge. It's a territorial tax system. Paraguay taxes only locally sourced income, meaning foreign income is exempt from local taxation. To fully leverage this, residents must obtain a Registro Único del Contribuyente, which is the tax ID, also known as the RUC or RUC, and we can help people get that as well. It's not mandatory, but it's a good idea to have. Another benefit is the affordable cost of living. Paraguay is among the lowest cost of living countries in South America, in all the Americas, really. The only country that might be cheaper is maybe Bolivia. Colombia is pretty cheap too, but Paraguay is a very low cost of living. You can easily live on less than $1,000 a month and still have a really high standard of living. Another benefit of temporary residency is access to services, including the healthcare system. So you would get access to the public healthcare system in Paraguay. So that would be available. But of course, the private options are preferred for quality and speed, and paying out of pocket for most expats is no big deal. But if you're really tight on a budget, or it's just like a simple sort of commodity thing, like maybe getting some shots or something like that, you can always use the public services in Paraguay for free. I'd say the biggest consideration is the process starts in Paraguay, and you need to have your documents ready before you arrive. So make sure you have things under control in terms of the bureaucratic steps, the document preparation, apostilles, the translations. There's a lot of pre-work that we do for people before they even show up in Paraguay so that we can submit the application on day one. Because if we don't do the pre-work, you're not going to be able to submit the application on day one. There would be a lot of running around to do to different offices. So typically people are purchasing the Paraguay residency service 2, 3, even 6 months in advance of when they intend to fly down to Paraguay. And by the way, if you'd like to work with us to get your Paraguay residency, there's a link in the description to book a call with us. You'll be booking a one-on-one consultation. We'll answer all your burning questions. Me, myself, I'm a Paraguay permanent resident. I've been a permanent resident since 2018 or 2019, way before most people. So we know what we're doing, and we've helped 100 plus clients do the same. So link in the description to book a call with us and start taking action, and stop watching YouTube videos and start making this happen, because having a back pocket plan B residency, lowering your taxes, all of these benefits and amazing things. I mean, it's really important to get the process started as soon as possible, because things could change anytime. Temporary residency suits those who are exploring Paraguay as a long-term home, who don't mind coming back to renew for permanent residency. But for people who really want to minimize the amount of trips to Paraguay, there is a way to go direct to permanent residency. Okay, this is called the SUACE program, the SUACE program. It's like the investor visa. Basically, you need to invest 70 or 75K in Paraguay to get this investor visa. It's almost like a separate class of visa in the sense that the SUACE has a separate office. They actually process the residency applications in a different pile. So typically the applications get processed faster, and you get immediate permanent residency. So you don't have to come back to Paraguay, because obviously if you live in North America, Europe, whatever, coming down to Paraguay, the flights aren't cheap. It's going to cost you probably at least $1,000 for the round trip flights, and then the hotel and this and that. So, keep that in mind. And more than the money, it's really the hassle. Like for high net worth individuals and stuff like that, they love the idea of getting Paraguay permanent residency, but they don't want to have to do 2 or 3 trips to make it happen. So this way, with the investor visa, you can invest in Paraguay. We have a couple qualified investments that we recommend. One of them we do right now is an agribusiness investment in like an agribusiness farm that gives you dividends and a pretty good return and everything. And that qualifies for the investor visa. So that's how you're going to qualify for direct permanent residency. And then, people kind of recommend visiting Paraguay once every 3 years as a permanent resident. I believe that's not a real law on the books. It's just a recommendation. And really, you might just need to renew that cedula card every 10 years. So to apply for the permanent residency via the SUACE program, you'll need the standard documents we mentioned earlier in the video: a valid passport, apostilled birth certificate, clean criminal record. And then, of course, you're going to need evidence of the investment, right? So you'll need evidence of the wire transfers that you made, the investments that you made, etc. So I highly recommend, if that program is of interest to you, you can check out the other video on our channel specifically about the SWASE program. So the benefits again of the SWASE program or of immediate permanent residency, you get indefinite stay. It does not require renewal, providing that long-term stability. It's also a path to citizenship because you need 3 years of permanent residency to pursue citizenship. So if you start as temp, it's actually a 5-year path to citizenship because it's 2 years temp and then 3 years PR, and then you can apply for citizenship. So if you want to kind of speed run things and apply for citizenship as soon as possible, you'll want to start on permanent residency so that it's only a 3-year path to citizenship, right? And then there can be some tax benefits as well of being a permanent resident versus temporary resident in the sense of building more substantial ties. Because typically what happens is tax residency is sort of like a tug of war between your home country and your new country. So you want to build as many ties to Paraguay as possible, and you want to reduce your ties to your home country as much as possible. So one way to build ties in Paraguay is to have permanent residency instead of temporary, so that if your home country ever came knocking, you go, they can't argue, oh, you're just a temporary resident. Maybe that means you have intent to return to your home country. But if you have permanent residency, they can't make that argument quite as easily. So comparing temporary and permanent residency, temporary residency obviously has the advantage that you do not need to invest any money whatsoever. It's quite unique in Latin America and really in the world in terms of a residency program where there's no financial solvency requirement at all. There's no investment required at all. So it's really quite unique and allows even people of modest means to start internationalizing and lowering their taxes and obtaining travel documents from all around the world. The benefit of permanent residency is people who want to develop stronger ties, people for whom the investment isn't a big deal, for an accelerated path to residency because you'll actually get residency faster, an accelerated path to citizenship, as we mentioned earlier, and just not having to come back in the hassles of renewal and everything like that, and visiting the country once a year as a temporary resident. So for people who want to spend as little time in Paraguay as possible, the SWASE permanent residency program might make sense for you. So who should consider Paraguay residency? Well, it's ideal for entrepreneurs and digital nomads. It's probably the best residency in the world for online entrepreneurs and digital nomads. We don't see as many retirees, although I don't see why not. Of course, it's a low cost of living and they'll qualify. But just historically, I'd say, the clients we see for Paraguay residency tend to be younger. We see lots of single adults in their 20s and 30s. We also see a lot of families as well. We see like families of 5 from Europe and stuff like that. We don't see too many retirees though that are in that 60 plus age group. But we do definitely see a lot of families that are, tired of the dystopian totalitarian stuff that Canada and Europe and the rest of these countries are doing. And, Paraguay is obviously a beacon of freedom in the Americas and in the world these days in terms of, leaving you alone and financial freedom, right? And low cost of living, low taxes, all these things contribute to Paraguay being one of the freest countries in the world. So some practical steps to achieve residency. 1, prepare your documents as early as possible. 2, keep in mind that the FBI background check is only valid for 6 months, or better stated, the background check from your home country, if you're not American, is only valid for 6 months. So make sure when you get that police check that you're visiting Paraguay within 6 months before that police check expires. Tip 3 is engage local expertise. Paraguay residency is actually very affordable, typically less than $2,000, and just doing it by yourself would be an enormous headache. We highly do not recommend doing it by yourself. It's an enormous headache. It's just not worth it. Just try to save a couple $100. So if it's not us, you can choose a different migration consultant or attorney, but this is one of those programs where it's so cost effective anyway. Even if you use a migration consultant, there's no reason to bang your head and try to do this yourself, unless your time is completely worthless. Practical step number 4 is obtain a cedula and a RUC. A cedula you're absolutely going to need for most of the benefits that Paraguay unlocks, such as getting bank accounts in Paraguay, getting a driver's license in Paraguay. Basically, being able to do anything in Paraguay is going to require a cedula, which is the national ID card. So keep in mind, you're going to want to optimize for getting that as quickly as possible. And then also consider the RUC, and if you need that for the tax benefits. If you're American, there's an argument that maybe you don't need the RUC because Americans have citizenship-based taxation. But for everybody else, for the Europeans, the Canadians, the Australians, the South Africans, etc., everybody else is probably going to want the RUC. So keep that in mind. And then tip number 5 is learn some basic Spanish or Guarani before you arrive. The Guarani is just to kind of impress people, but Spanish is really quite mandatory in Paraguay. The levels of English are not super high. Of course, you will meet random English speakers everywhere. Like anyone in Latin America, you're always going to find, some guy that grew up watching Friends and The Simpsons and stuff like that. But for the majority, I was going to say the mayoría, the majority of Paraguayans do not speak English. So keep that in mind. Start learning Spanish as early as possible. In conclusion, Paraguay's 2025 residency programs offer accessible pathways for individuals seeking an affordable, tax-advantaged path in South America. Temporary residency provides a low-commitment entry, and permanent residency, including the Suase option, offers indefinite stay and a path to citizenship, ideal for long-term integration. The requirements are slightly different, but keep in mind, you want that apostilled birth certificate and you want that clean criminal record background check. And by the way, I forgot to mention, if you have a couple bumps on your on your background check, if you've had some run-ins with the law, maybe you had a DUI, whatever, anything below a felony in the US, like if you've had a misdemeanor, we can usually still get the case through. But if you've had a felony or something, it kind of depends what it is, but it can definitely get your application held up. So what I would recommend, especially for those people, is book a call with us, get your FBI background check so we can take a look at it and we can kind of decide how we want to proceed from there and if it makes sense to make an application for Paraguay residency. Cool. So by preparing your documents and engaging experts, you, the applicant, can navigate Paraguay residency officially and get that coveted Paraguay residency card in your hands. Paraguay is one of the most friendly countries in the world and one of the freest countries in the world, and residency is going to open the doors to financial freedom and opportunity. We highly recommend it for everyone. Paraguay permanent residency is an absolute no-brainer. So if you found this video helpful, please like the video, subscribe, thumbs up, notification bell, all that stuff. Leave some comments below if you have some questions or anecdotes that you'd like to share. Book a call with us at the link in the description, and we'll see you in the next video.